the latest Netflix craze that has taken over the world is Arcane. Arcane was a big surprise. I don't know about you guys. I don't know how you guys felt. I heard about this show and I was like, I don't play League of Legends. I don't care about, a League of Legends show that they just decided to make out of nowhere. And then I just kept hearing about it, and I kept hearing about it. First of all, I started hearing about it first from people who play League of Legends. And then when I started hearing about it from people who don't play League of Legends, now my interest is piqued.
Yeah.
So what was your guys' experience first getting into this show?
When I first saw the show, and I didn't see any trailer, whatnot, I saw on Netflix and I was kind of watching Bebop and, not really enjoying Bebop as much. I was just intrigued of just seeing, okay, what's popular? Because as someone who's into TV shows, I'm going to check out pilots. I like to look at pilots every now and then. And since, Arcane fit the kind of genre of like action animated thing, I was going to check it. So I saw the first 2 episodes. And for me, I thought it was like, all right. I thought it was like, it wasn't like, amazing, but it wasn't like, it wasn't bad. I was like, okay, I like the feel. You got rebels, you got this corrupt system. It's I kind of made a stereotype of the show. And it wasn't until like my brother was like advocating like, bro, after episode 3, you're going to be hooked. It's going to change your life. It's a really amazing show. Trust me, it's really good. And then even, Crystal here started being like, yo guys, have you seen Arcane? You gotta watch it. And I'm like, dang, okay. People are saying it. And then, like I said, episode 3 hit and this thing became something that I did not see it coming.
Honestly,
like, I did not think it was gonna
I was already like engaged in the first episode. Like I was at my friend's house in LA. Me and my cousin and my sister were there. And then we're just chilling before like we're gonna like eat some Korean barbecue or whatever. And then we were watching like Hellbound or something. And then my sister was trying to like book some stuff on her phone. And she's like, okay, don't watch Hellbound anymore. Like I need to do this thing. So we paused it. And then my cousin was like looking through the stuff and I was like, oh, that one looks cool, Arcane. So we decided to watch that one. And then the first episode, we only watched like half of it. And then my sister was done and we had to go back to Hellbound. I was like, can we just watch Arcane instead? Because Hellbound was so boring in my opinion. And I don't know if you guys know anything about Hellbound, but like, it was just like a bunch of demon gorillas just beating up people, sort of like Rick and Morty when Rick and Summer got buff and started beating up people. That's how I see the show, to be honest. Anyways, I only watched half of it, but then I was already like, wow, like the animation is great, the voice acting is great, the music is great, and like there's so much going on for this show. Even in the first like half of the first episode for me, that I was intrigued enough to watch the rest, and it just kept getting better for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you guys. Not a League player. I probably will never play League of Legends. That being said, this show is easily like one of my top animated shows that I've ever seen. And I think I was maybe like the first out of all of us to watch it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I usually, I see...
Finished it, I'll say that.
Yeah. Shows aren't my favorite medium. I feel like you guys know this. Like, I feel like I can't get engaged in a super long story all the time. And then when like a new season comes, I'm like, oh, y'all have problems again. Thought you handled this last season. But
most TV shows
I was seeing some things about it getting like perfect scores on like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And just kind of out of boredom, I checked it out. I wouldn't say I was immediately hooked, but I did recognize quality there. I recognize incredible production value. Like the animation itself is probably the most striking feature that I noticed at first, because it looks like oil paintings. It looks like brushstrokes in every scene. So it's not just a generic animated show. Like it has style, and it's amazing style. I love stylized things, so that was kind of kept my interest initially. And also the score was really great. If you listen to the score, it's beautiful. I mean, when the music swells during some points, like it's hard to not get emotional because it's really pretty sounding. And the intro song's really great by Imagine Dragons. I didn't know I could like an Imagine Dragons song that much, but I was like, yo, this kind of slaps. So I was like, okay, this is something special. I should stick around. Toughed it out for the first, 3 episodes, which is not to say like not toughing it out. Like it was all pretty good, but you're right. Once the 3rd episode hit, I was like, okay,
Yes.
I don't think I can stop watching now. There's just no way that I can stop watching now.
Yes.
It's interesting because you've all mentioned how, like, at the beginning, except for Scott seems to have loved it all the way through. But you all mentioned how at the beginning, it's not necessarily like the first 2 episodes are not as, gripping as what happens when you get to the 3rd episode and you watch on from there.
They're deceivingly generic, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Okay, so for me, my experience was I fell in love with that first 5-minute opening sequence in episode 1 when they're on the
Yeah.
bridge and there's no dialogue.
That's really good.
I was like, this is incredible. Like, I was like, this is incredible.
You
while I was
understand,
watching
OC.
that.
You understand.
I was like, this is so good. The rest of the episode after that, I was like, okay, this is generic.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I got that
Exactly.
same feeling.
I agree.
But
That was a
first
striking
5-minute
visual. Amazing.
That first, yeah, and like we're getting introduced into like the animation style and all of that. So I was gripped in that first 5-minute opening. And I was like, oh, okay, I hope it gets back to that. And it definitely does. It definitely gets back to it. It
Yes.
definitely
Yes.
improves.
Yes.
Okay, love
But
it.
yeah, so moving on from
Yeah,
that,
we've established the first 3 episodes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
and they did a cool thing where they released this in chunks. They like had
Yeah,
3-episode
exactly.
arcs.
Yeah.
3
basically.
acts.
Yeah.
They literally, they confirmed that they released it in 3 acts. Like they released the
Yeah.
first 3 episodes, then the next 3, and then the last 3 all at like different, with breaks in between, basically.
Yeah.
So what did you guys feel about the second act, basically? So after we get that whole craziness that happens at the end of the first
I mean,
act.
why don't we talk about that a little bit, right? Like, because I feel like the first 2 episodes were meant for that build-up, right? Without the first
Right,
2
it was
episodes,
big.
you would not have as strong of an impact in episode 3.
Correct.
Yeah, of course.
Because, like, they were trying to make it... I mean, we didn't know anything about the characters, so I'm assuming League of Legends people might have had, like, some hint that
Yeah.
Potter was going to turn into Jinx or whatever. But for us... we believed her to be like someone who's, trying to help out, trying to be part of the team. And that's like her arc. She always tries, but she always fails.
Yes, that's what I like
And like
about
she
this.
failed in like the hardest way possible, or
Yes.
like the harshest way possible for her and everyone else. She
Yes.
literally murders her 2 of her friends,
Exactly.
which is such a
Yeah.
insane
Exactly.
concept, right? Like you know how like
Yes.
most stories is like, okay, the person comes in clutch, the person comes in and saves everyone. Like their arc is finally okay.
Yes.
Yes, they've come, they've grown, and they're better now, and they can
Yes,
do
yes,
it. But it's
yes.
like like they flipped out on their head, and then you
Yeah.
get someone who did it wrong,
Exactly.
and actually killed her teammates, and see what
Exactly.
outcome comes from that. And that's like
Exactly.
amazing. Nobody takes the risks in storytelling to do that.
yes,
Like I feel like I've
exactly.
never seen that before.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. It's called a negative character arc, where the characters, they progress in doing stuff and it becomes more like negative and has more negative impacts. So that's basically what happened with this character.
I think one of the things that this show did brilliantly while I was watching the 3rd episode, maybe it's because of the way that TV shows are now, I was expecting Valder to die
Vander.
much earlier. Vander or Valder? Vander?
Vander.
Vander.
Vander. I was expecting Vander to die much earlier than he did. And I was like, okay, they're going to do the thing where obviously he's the older mentor and these kids are starting their journey, and so they're going to kill off the older mentor at the beginning of these kids' journeys. And I was kind of expecting it. I was kind of waiting for it. And then when it like almost happens, and they kind of are teasing us with his death in that 3rd episode. That's how I felt watching it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
That there was some
teasing-
hope that he would escape and that
they're
it
like,
would all
oh,
be
there's
okay.
like some hope he's gonna escape. And like even when he gets captured in that very end part, but then just the way that everything came together. And it didn't just kill off Vander, they killed off Klanger
Exactly.
and Milo.
Klanger.
That was a
Yeah.
shock.
I was like, wow. So they, even when I was expecting it, they still caught me by
And it's
surprise.
like, I feel like there are patterns too. There's context clues that make you think like, I don't think Powder can pull this one out. Something's gonna go wrong, but you like can't look away. Like it's so compelling because it's like a car crash. Like you I mean, I was like, there's no way. Like, things are going a little too well right now. And like, even though there was like a sense of dread there, I was still like, I couldn't look away. But yeah, I mean, all that happened in that third episode. I think that's probably the standout in the whole series where it all just turns on its head.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
absolutely.
It creates a very unique story, I feel like.
Yes, it does. It does, because what I really like about that is like you have this it's crazy seeing how much Jinx becomes like the main villain. Like through the whole show, you're really seeing how she's becoming like the main problem. Although there's other problems which we can get into because the politics of the show is really amazing. It's well done.
Politics, I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, the politics of the show is really good, but I do like how Jinx is sort of like, and it's funny because to me, whenever I think of Jinx and then who's the, oh my god, I feel bad I don't know the villain. No, not the
Silco.
Every time I think of them, I think of Joker and Harley Quinn, but
she's definitely a Harley Quinn type.
Yeah, but
I think she's more, I mean, compared to like our movie versions of Harley Quinn, I feel like this character is more fleshed out. Like we see her.
Of course.
And it's almost like she fits in her world so perfectly, where the animation style creates this steampunk aesthetic, and she fits into that so well, where what she's doing would seem over the top or kind of melodramatic in any other medium, but in this show with this style, it fits so well, and it makes her feel grounded, even though she's like the wildest character.
I know.
There's like some unexpectedly brutal parts, and it's not just on her. Like in a lot of other parts of the show, there's I don't know, just some really dramatic scenes between characters where like morality is in question.
Yes.
And
moral
and
ambiguity.
so much more. I mean, there's a lot going on. Like we could talk all day about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's so much tragedy. Like Powder's whole thing is a tragic story. Victor's story is tragic. There's so many, and I'm curious. We're gonna get more unfolding. Hopefully, season 2. They have the seasons mapped out to where they know where they're going. I'm sure that they do. But I'm curious about the different characters, like especially the other characters on the council. What's the girl the black
Mel.
girl with the mom? Mal. I'm curious about Mel. I'm curious about her story and like her people. They kind of introduce that
if she doesn't die.
If she doesn't, well, no.
Okay, I've done just not any kind of digging, but I've been following a lot of things on Twitter, and there is definitely some lore that has been hinted at in this first season that is going to be expanded on for sure. And like her background, at least with her mother, hints towards something in the lore. I mean, none of us are involved in League of Legends, but just thought I'd point that out. But it is refreshing to watch it without having been exposed to the lore to begin with. So that's the extent of the knowledge that I want for now.
That's exactly why this is a really good show, because it's not, a show's amazing where the fan base, where it's like its core audience, is able to reach outside the core audience, because it's like, if it's like, oh, this is its audience, League of Legends fans, if you're not a League of Legends fan, you can't watch it. That wouldn't really make it a compelling show. But when it's a show that you're not even a League of Legends fan, and you're like, oh my god, I want to know what's going to happen, what's going on with the characters, their hopes and concerns, all that stuff is just attached to you.
Yeah,
it does a good job. That's how you know a show is well put out.
The trajectory of the popularity of the show, the way it's going, I feel like it could become like the new League canon story, just because of like all the attention that it's getting. And I would love that. I would love for this to be like the next viral thing. Like it's no Stranger Things, it's no Squid Game yet, but I think just the proof is in the quality, the proof is in the pudding. Like it's there, like it's a really good show, and like eventually, like I feel like it could be like way bigger than it is now.
Yeah, it certainly deserves to be. Like you just named Squid Game
it deserves to be.
And Stranger Things, and those shows have nothing on this one.
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the storytelling and not only the storytelling is like amazing, but also like the characters are interesting as well. Like each character has so much personality and so much like depth to them.
Yeah, a lot of them have flaws, and they're like really highlighted throughout the series, which is, I mean, it doesn't make for like a feel-good show. Like there are some times where you're like maybe like uncomfortable or like, oh, like this is tragic and sad, but I don't know, it just makes for a good story, you know, more so than just kind of keeping everyone one-dimensional and doing a kind of generic story.
That's true. The characters, other than like we've talked a lot about Jinx, but Violet is a very interesting character. The way that they crafted her, it was done very well. Like it's such a she's such an interesting character to follow because she's essentially our protagonist, and so I enjoyed following her throughout this story. Jace is another interesting character who's kind of dealing with. He's the one character who seems to be dealing with the ethical ramifications of the actions going on more than any of the other characters, and so it's interesting watching his journey as well. He kind of goes back and forth, and we see that, and we kind of get both sides, and then it climaxes in this first season when that child dies because of him.
That was a great episode.
It was a great episode. And so we see his journey in that. Silco, that we mentioned before, is a fantastic villain because he initially is like the bad guy being bad, doing bad things, but then we realize his connection with through his connection with Vander, he feels betrayed. His goal is kind of noble, but his methods are just terrible because he had the same goal that Vander had. Like they both had the same goal, but the fact that Vander he
wasn't willing to go for it. He wasn't willing to go like super hard
sacrifice.
For it. Yeah.
He wasn't willing to sacrifice the lives of the people around him anymore because he saw what it looked like. Whereas Silco was kind of like willing to sacrifice anything,
and
makes his interactions or his relationship with Jinx very interesting. Like, what do you guys feel about that interaction? Do you think that he actually cares about Jinx, or do you think that it's 100% manipulation? Because he
definitely cares.
He cares about her. I'm 100%
he's the kind of character that he doesn't, or he I feel like he is a selfish character in a way that he feels like his own goals are of paramount importance, and he had that with the treaty, and it was right there. So all he had to do was give up.
But then
Jinx.
If you remember the scene with the fountain, right? Like he was like talking to the statue of Vander, and it's just like he was conflicted about it. It wasn't simple to him.
Yeah, not to mention...
He was conflicted. I don't think there was a way for us to tell if he was going to do it or not, even when he said he wasn't going to do it. But I still think that he loved her.
Yeah.
And it was a selfish love. It was like an unhealthy love, and he was kind of encouraging her worst impulses, right? Like, that's not a good love, to just kind of... let someone be the worst possible version, unhealthiest version of themselves, right? So it may look like manipulation, and it, in some cases, I'm sure it was, but I just think that it was just a really unhealthy and selfish love for Jinx, because again, if you saw Vi and Jinx's story is parallel to like Vander and Silco's story. So that's why I think he must have like latched on to Jinx. And we see that when he like pretty much adopts her for the very first time. Like I thought it was like genuine, like I care about this little girl because she was like betrayed like I was. So he was always going to have that personal connection with her that like no one else has experienced. So
and to add on to that, I do feel like when he died, especially the part where he got stabbed, like, I mean, what else would he gain got killed, sorry, my bad. What else would he gain if he was like it seemed, I feel like he was being heart to heart at that point. Like, what else would he gain saying those words,
He did, his final word was it did cause like Jinx it was like the final nail in the coffin for like Jinx's mental health, though, for sure. Is like saying like, I would have never given you up. I think even that was like a selfish thing to say instead of telling her, I don't know, something like healthy, like Vander's last words, like, oh, like V, you're a good person. Silco's essentially saying like, raise hell, give up hell.
But, I mean, Vander's last words was like, also to take care of Powder. God.
Take care of Powder.
Those last words, God. How tragic that is.
Yeah, the more you think about it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but a character I wanted to mention was also Echo. I did not like realize how much I would care for him. Because like his reunion with Violet was like so touching for some reason.
Yes.
And
it was very interesting because I was like, what happened to that kid? Like in that
I predicted it, by the way.
That was good. That's good.
Yeah.
In that second arc, I was like, what happened to the little black kid? Because he wasn't there, but then he was there the whole time.
Yeah. I was like, all right, this leader dude who's like super dope and has this mask on the whole time, and then there's also a missing character. It's got to be the same guy. That's what I was thinking in my head.
I wasn't even making the
Good
connection.
call.
Dang, did nobody get Kids Next Door vibes when they showed where his whole hideout is? Yeah, I was like,
a little hideout.
I was like, Kids Next Door, man.
Dude, his
Underground
battle with
tree.
Jinx, that was dope. That was super dope.
Yeah, we can't not talk about it.
That was one of the
probably
best
one of
moments.
best fights, best sequences. Amazing song choice to go along with the
Yeah,
fight.
like one of the best action sequences of like any animation ever.
Well done.
It was so good. It was so good.
There were, and it was interesting because it's like they encompassed a bunch of feelings with that fight. Because first of all, it was super hype. Like you can't get hype. You can't not get hype with like a cool rap song with Pusha T and like, and then he like brings out his little stopwatch, which is like kind of bringing back like
Memories.
a little
back
bit of
to
like childhood
games.
playfulness. So it's like, oh, we're in for something good, something great. Look at them, they look like kids. And then it ends kind of tragic again with him having to like beat up Jinx and eventually stop.
Man, he could have
happens after
finished
that.
her.
He could have messed her up. But yeah, that's an amazing scene. Do you guys know anything about his league lore?
No,
idea.
I actually prefer not to know.
Okay, I won't tell you anything.
Okay.
But Chuku, do you have any final thoughts?
I think again the action was really really amazing. I think especially for someone who loves animated action, this is definitely something that stands out and is something you want to rewatch as well. And I feel like it added tension and pace. Music again, well done, presented as well. I like that. I mean, there really was no gripes I can think of. I mean, maybe I guess you can make, if I'm being nitpicky, I would say like there are moments where I do feel like there's like too much dialogue and they could have had more action. But again, I'm just being nitpicky on that point. And then I did feel like the final fight, or the fight between Jinx and
Echo.
Jinx and Echo, I did feel like it was a little bit contrived that he was able to survive, while Jinx almost was like, I don't want to say dead, but almost to the point
Yeah, but
where
he had a
was,
skateboard too. So.
he had a
He jumped
skateboard.
off the bridge.
I mean, it is, but I don't know. His damaging just to have his leg off.
Speaking of which, those boards is a callback to Treasure Planet that I
Oh yeah.
freaking
I
You're not the
love.
first
love
person
Treasure
to make
Planet.
that comparison. That's
But-
funny.
Other than that, amazing show. Love it to death. I definitely want to talk more about it. There's a lot to go in depth about it, and glad I watched
Any
it.
thoughts on the finale?
Finale. I mean, that cliffhanger is still making me think.
I hope Jace is alive.
Yeah.
All right, so Chuku, thanks for your last thoughts. He had to go, and we were talking about how, also you mentioned like a slight confusion about where that missile was heading, and me and Crystal think it is going to the council meeting.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I came out of that episode thinking, which means that maybe at the beginning of season 2 they're all dead. But
There's no way. There's no way they're all dead.
I also heard some things that it's like it might have been like a reflection that we were seeing, and it's kind of a misdirect. But I guess we'll just have to wait until season 2 to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't make sense if they all just died. Jace and Victor and Mel were all in that room.
Yeah.
I could see like maybe like Mel dying and then like Jace having to like deal with that, and like maybe like that's an opportunity for Mel's mom to like swoop in and like take control of Piltover when they're, in a moment of weakness. But definitely we have like unfinished business with like Victor, right? Like
Yeah,
he's
there's
like
there's
kind
no
of
way they're dying.
on the cusp of scientific, discovery.
Yeah. But
So-
either way, there's going to be repercussions, and that's the whole point. I do find it way more interesting that if the missile hits like someone in that room and someone dies in the council, that would be way more impactful in my opinion. Versus like,
Caitlyn's mom is also in there,
that's true.
Yeah.
so
Dude,
that's a lot to deal
Caitlyn
with.
had a chance to kill Powder, but she just didn't. It's so sad.
I think, yeah.
Like,
I think she also maybe like set Jinx off too by like, pointing a gun at her. I feel like Vi was like, maybe she could have talked Jinx down. I don't know.
I don't
Kate
think
might have
so.
jumped the gun a little.
I think Caitlyn should have just done what she wanted to do and shot Jinx.
Killed Jinx.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in a realistic standpoint, right? If you were that character, like, I think that would have been the best thing to do. Because she is unhinged. It's clear to everyone but Violet.
Yeah, even Echo, like that was Echo's whole thing, was that he, like, Powder was gone, and like as somebody who knew Powder, he was like, Powder is gone. Like, this is Jinx now.
I mean, even he hesitated too, but he has more reason than Caitlyn. I mean, I guess Caitlyn likes Violet, so she doesn't want to kill her sister, but still,
Yeah.
at least shoot the legs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
At least shoot her legs. Damn. Okay, so one flaw in the story.
Sure. I mean, do you guys have any gripes? Shuku mentioned one nitpick with the fighting, and I guess for me too, I really wish I saw Echo escaping, but at the same time, I didn't mind it because, he's such a badass. I'm like, like, you know what? You leaving with a broken leg, totally cool with me.
Yeah. I didn't have much of any gripes. I do think that there were some moments where I think that the Caitlyn and Violet relationship should have taken a little bit more time. It seemed like it was happening kind of fast at the beginning, but other than that, there's not really, and that's kind of, I guess, more of a nitpick. But I don't know. Were there any? Like,
I mean, I suppose that's a fair nitpick, but at the same time, it's not like they really did anything. It was just a very close friendship.
You can
But
go. Is it a friendship?
no, it's not.
You can
It's not a
get-
friendship.
no.
I mean, like, they didn't
No.
do anything romantic,
But you can get close to someone when you are in times of like great, I don't know, like trauma or like
Yeah.
drama,
Yeah.
Like I
yeah,
could
it's
see
sort
something
of like
like
Powder
that.
with Silco, right? It's just like,
I think it.
Yeah.
I think it was like.
Trauma bonding.
I think the only reason that I feel it's a nitpick is because that relationship got in between Violet and Powder. Like,
Yeah, okay.
And so, like, it was kind of.
So
it was like,
in that
okay.
way, Jinx was right.
I mean, on a certain level, she's like,
That's
okay,
her
who's
sister.
this new girl who's coming in, and she's also a topsider who
I think-
we're supposed to
yeah.
hate topsiders, and so.
That's true, and I think Jinx is already clearly unhinged, and for Vi to let her guard down and think that doing all that was okay, maybe that was definitely a factor in Jinx going mad.
yeah, but it's
do
not
you-
Violet's fault. Like, she's the one who released her from prison, so.
Yeah. Well, okay. Rewinding a little bit. Do you guys like the time skip? Do you think anything was lost in translation to that you wish they would have covered, or
I love
do you
the
think?
time skip.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
thought it
think
was
the time
good.
skip was necessary.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I missed it, but did they specify exactly how many years?
They did not specify.
jumped. I wish they had specified.
Yeah, I looked it up,
I-
and I think
It's like 6 to 10 years. I feel like I've seen 6, and I've also seen 10.
yeah,
I don't know.
it's a ballpark. Nobody actually knows for sure. Not even the actors and the writer, I think, because I looked it up on Reddit, and like apparently the actor said this amount of time passed, and then the writer was like this amount of time passed, and they're different. So yeah, it's
it has
ambiguous.
to be, because we know it can't be more than 10 years because that's how long Mel was exiled, and she was there at the beginning. So,
Still exiled.
Yeah, it can't be more than 10 years, but I do wish that they had made
Yeah.
that clear.
As far as time skips, though, it was pretty seamless.
Yeah. I don't think that any character acted out of character.
Yeah, I sort of wanted, or I suppose it wasn't necessary, but seeing Vi in the prison more would have been more interesting, I think, or having more like scenes with her and how it was like versus just dialogue mentioning it, like the whole beat up and like how she spent her time in there. But I guess she didn't really do much in there, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But again, that's like another nitpick that is not necessarily a nitpick, just something I could have used more of.
Right. But I do think, I mean, yeah, it's hard to find gripes in this show at this point.
You mentioned like Victor, right? I really appreciated his storyline too with the doctor and everything. Because like, you know, the doctor is not just this weird random Dr. Evil dude that most shows are like, you know, like they have some evil genius that's just evil for whatever reason. Like even him, that evil genius guy, has more depth to him, like more character, right?
Yeah, everyone has their own personal motivations, which is like really interesting to see. No one is like, at the end of the series, no one is exactly as you thought they were going to be. Because even like Mel, they kind of painted her to be like kind of shady, because she was obviously kind of using Jace as like a
way to gain power.
Like a mouthpiece. Like he was the figurehead and she was behind the scenes kind of pulling strings, and like he was gonna do whatever she said. But at the end, like she was, you know, lobbying for peace, you know, like they, at least, you know, she had those disagreements with the way her mom did things, and it's like I actually appreciated her character a lot in that last act.
Definitely.
That was a big one that I was like, whoa, like she's totally different from what I thought. And yeah,
Jace,
like you said, everyone else.
And then Jace breaking the rules and kicking ass.
Yeah, and then kicking what's his Heimerdinger off the council like an asshole.
Yeah, that's Heimerdinger is another character that I think we haven't mentioned. What do you guys think about him? Because I almost...
He's just a cute little guy.
I almost feel like, okay, so for me, while I was watching it, when Jace was kicking him off the council, I was like, I was backing Jace. I was like, okay, obviously.
Yeah, no, I was too. I was like, dude, like this dude's dying.
Obviously, Heimerdinger knew stuff that he just wasn't sharing. Like he knew a ton of stuff that he just didn't want to tell anybody. Like from the very beginning, when they see when he hears about the work that
he's
Jace
hard
is
to
doing.
relate to, because Heimerdinger seems to be a being that I don't know if he's actually immortal or if he's just super like long lifespan. So it's hard to relate to in that sense, because he doesn't see things like humans do. He's like, okay, we can wait like another 100 years. It's all good. But like humans...
Right.
But he wasn't transparent about things.
Exactly. That's the biggest problem.
I think if he was just honest with Jace and had a conversation with him, I don't think Jace would have had to resort to kicking him off the council.
Because at this point, Jace has been interacting with Heimerdinger for several years.
That's his mentor.
And Heimerdinger has clearly, like all this time, has had this knowledge that he's not willing to share with the people around him. It's like at this point, either you get on with us or you tell us what's going on. And if you can't do either of those things, then get out of the way.
Young Justice style right there.
Right, exactly. It's like I can respect him not wanting, and we get it by the end of the episode. With like this Victor's experience with the girl dying in his arms, which was pretty tragic.
Yeah, shoot.
But and so they get to that, but it's like, if Heimerdinger knew something, why couldn't you just say something?
Yeah, like, he's indirectly responsible for Sky's death.
I don't think Heimerdinger knows that much about the new technology, like the hex tech stuff. But he knew enough to say that it needs to be destroyed.
He knows about magic, because every time they bring up magic, he's very apprehensive, and so that must have been like the main focal point of whatever like war or like traumatic stuff he's experienced.
But if he had more knowledge, he could have at least like helped them, or at least like guide them and being like, don't do this specifically, right? So he's just like being ambiguous. He's just going off of his gut feeling, I think, and just like, don't do it because it'll eventually lead to like disaster in like 50 years after you're dead.
I think he was being like, weirdly like judgmental and paranoid about the magic stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think Victor and Jace were being a little ignorant with like when they were like, oh, look at this is great for mining. Oh, look, this is gonna be incredible for science. And they like obviously look like weapons. Like
oh, that's hilarious.
It's like a death ray and like these hammer fists.
So on the other side, Heimerdinger maybe has a point.
Yeah, no, Jason and Victor were definitely very
They're like,
naive.
these will be so nifty for science and society.
How about some safeguards, Heimerdinger says. Safeguards with 4.
That was funny.
Oh, gotta break some wrenches for science.
Apparently. But yeah, at the end of the day,
I mean,
all of these characters.
I'm glad he's with Echo, right? Like,
yeah.
That should be.
Yeah.
I feel like he has more of a place and more of an arc there, or more like stuff he can do there versus like being in the council.
Yeah, I need more Echo, because as much as I love him, he's more of one of those characters for me that's just very hype. Like, he's cool design, like great at fighting. But he's like the one character where I feel like he's like truly good. He has no faults. I love him. But I do want to see like a little bit more from him. Maybe like I don't know, a little bit of background with his time with the Firelights. Is that what they're called? Fireflies? Firelights?
Something
it's like
like
gang
that.
of surfboarders. Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah,
I agree with you.
Maybe one other nitpick is that I feel like his absence was felt, and maybe just because I didn't pick up on him being like the leader of that gang, but still, like I wish I got a little more.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like him being with Heimerdinger does not help. like I because we don't really
Heimerdinger slander.
I just feel like his character is not gonna see much action. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably just gonna be some science related stuff.
Yeah, dude.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
Whack.
We'll see. Like, I think it's good that he's there, like Heimerdinger, but not that Echo is with him. You know what I mean? It's not a mutual good thing. It's like good for one character, but not necessarily good for the other.
It's like one of those things where like it's that part of the story where if all the good characters could just get together and band together, like I feel like this stuff.
He needs to be with Violet
but
more.
like they're all right now like separated, and like it's unclear whether they're all gonna get together and be on the same page. Probably not,
dude. Like,
but there's an element of anxiety.
You know how like Echo was like, okay, I've got to be there. I've got to be the one to deliver this like Hextech orb thing, right? I wish that happened. I wish he was brought to the council. I would have loved to see him talk to them. That would have been such an epic scene.
They want us to yearn for it.
I was like, Echo shouldn't have given up, or he shouldn't have been willing to give up the orb. Like, you should. There's no reason for you to trust Caitlyn. There's no reason for you to give up this potential.
Violet was there, so that's he trusted Vi.
Yeah, but Violet has been in a hole for the last 6 to 10 years, so she has no idea what's going on.
I think.
But I don't know. I thought that was like I thought that was naive on his part to be willing to hand it over. I think he should have kept it.
There's strength in numbers. What if they both went in front of the council? Because Vi's very like, I don't know, when she talks, at least at the end, the last act, she's like very reactionary to stuff. Probably because she's been locked up for so long, but she's very impulsive, reactionary, and I feel like when she was in front of the council, they easily dismissed her for being so emotional, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was confused about what her motivation was when she was in front of the council. Like, do you want them to start warring with the underworld?
It seemed like that.
That was also kind of selfish. I think she just wanted to kill Silco. I think that was her. Yeah. That was her main motivation, and she didn't care what the repercussions were. She just thought, if Silco's gone, Powder will be back, because she's a good girl. She's obviously under the influence of a really bad man. I mean, and I think
it doesn't matter. Yeah, who else
V thought that was going to be the.
I mean, Vi also like loves the Undercity, right? So it's like she wanted to clean it up by taking out the factories that created the Shimmer. Yeah, that's true too. That was a good goal. Yeah,
that's like a little side goal. I think she just really wanted Silco dead.
Probably, but
She kept name dropping.
Yeah, one character we didn't mention was Marcus. How'd you guys feel about him? The police guy that was.
I actually was gonna bring him up, but I forgot his name. He was an interesting character. Like he was just an unfortunate, like, kind of bystander that suffered some grave consequences. He was an interesting character because he really, like, he was like a crooked cop, but he also wanted to keep the peace. He just didn't do as good a job as the woman before him. What was her name?
I can't remember.
I forgot her name.
But yeah, I felt like he had so many opportunities to just turn, you know, and
Turn
he just
evil
didn't
or do the right thing.
do the right thing. But it's kind of sad.
He was covering his own ass. He had his own family to worry about, and you know, not everyone can be like a noble, selfless character. So it is cool to see some like selfish characters that like throw a wrench in things, because that's just what happens sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of great little side characters. Keep going.
Yeah, that's what I appreciated about, like, not necessarily that I liked his character, but I appreciate that I was like realistic in a sense that, you know, there are characters that, or there are people that are bound to do that, you know, for
To
the
protect
money
their own.
or for like keeping his daughter safe or whatever, or keeping the peace, stuff like that, but also just like going against a lot of morality, like a lot of moral like rules.
Yeah, there's a lot of morally gray characters in the series. Even another morally gray character that I thought was really great was Silco's right-hand girl, Sevika. She was like one of my favorites just because her fight scenes with Vi are really great. But yeah, you see her like switch sides like crazy.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel like she should have died like on 3 different occasions.
Yeah, I thought she
Nah,
was
she's
dead
a
at some
tough
point.
lady. I love her.
I'm
and
like,
then
yo, this lady just keeps coming back.
she's very morally gray. Like even now I'm like, she was loyal to Silco at the end, but I don't know if that was because she thought he had the best direction or if it was just her own gut feelings. But I don't know. I feel like she's pretty a pretty intuitive character. And I don't know. I just like seeing a strong lady fight like that.
Yeah. Anyways, any
Yeah.
final thoughts, guys, before we close off this video?
Final thoughts. This is a show that when I finished watching it, I immediately felt the need to start rewatching it. Like
Ooh.
I went back to just watch the first 5-minute opening scene again, but I honestly feel like I felt the need to just like, I need to watch this again because the seeds that are laid at the beginning, they grow throughout the show, and you see that eventually, but it almost, I feel like watching it again, you would appreciate it a lot more. Like, so those first 2 episodes that we said were kind of generic, I feel like those episodes would be enhanced after seeing where the story goes. We see the beginnings of that journey, and I think that would
Definitely.
be an interesting thing to do, to just go back and watch.
Yeah, I feel like
the show.
every great show has that effect where, like, when you rewatch it, there are things that you missed and you appreciate more
Yeah.
after the rewatch.
Yeah, like breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
And there's like even stuff that isn't like resolved and explained. Like maybe we can all go into something like we're looking forward to in the series, but I'm looking forward to like more world building because we still don't know like where the origin of magic comes from, and like the guy who like helped Jace when he was like lost in the snow, like who was that? Like, where is this magic stuff coming from? Like, I feel like I'm really interested in like more world building.
Yeah, I'm interested in what Echo's gonna do.
Yeah,
I hope.
Same.
I hope he's with Vi again, because they are in right now, you know, in the Undercity. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm interested in the Vi and Jinx relationship, obviously. Something that they did in that dinner scene that they had in the last episode was very interesting. They had Jinx kind of use the character of Powder as a manipulation tactic over Violet, and it was very interesting to watch, where she was like, hey, just kill Caitlyn and you'll get Powder back. And I'm like sitting here watching this, and I'm like, yo, so she's literally using her own self, like her own character, her own, or split personality, as a manipulation tactic over her sister. And it's very interesting to see that interplay, and I'm curious how that is going to develop further on down the line.
Weirdly self-aware, because she also has this other funny tidbit where she has the platter with like the little top on it, and she's like, oh, like I met your little girlfriend today.
Yeah.
And then everyone thinks it's gonna be like Caitlyn's head,
Yeah.
and then she pulls it off and it's a cupcake, and she's like, I'm not that crazy. Like that's very self-aware and funny, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so looking forward to more. So it's gonna be an interesting ride. I mean, we're gonna definitely talk about this a lot more, just because it's a great show, and I feel like something of this caliber hasn't released in a long time, at least for me, that I've seen.
I would agree with that.
So yeah,
Oh yeah.
definitely look forward to making more videos about this topic, and let us know your thoughts about Arcane in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Bye.